Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You are hearing our radio station ERM Radio. I am Michela Mosurrutia.
And I am Mariana Jardón.
Hello, Mariana. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you, Michelle?
Fine, thank you. Here, living the life. Guess what is the topic of today?
What are we talking about today?
It's very interesting and super important for all the Mexicans. We are going to talk about the educative reform in Mexico. So please stay with us to know more about this topic.
I think this topic is very interesting. It is very important to understand and know all the details so we don't repeat again the same mistakes. We will have a special guest that is the teacher of history of Tecnológico de Monterrey. She will be explaining to us her point of view of the educative reforms and its consequences nowadays and the relationship with the past.
Before talking about educative reforms, we have first to know what is education and what is reform, because there is a difference, but at the same time they have a relation.
Before we start to explain this topic, we search for a song in YouTube for you to better understand this topic. This song may help you to understand better before we give you all the details about this. So please don't change the station. These lyrics will help you understand better the details we will be talking about later in our station. So please listen to us and put attention to all the lyrics.
ERM Radio.
Más te hubiera valido ser mariachi, pariente. Más te hubiera valido ser mariachi, man.
Aurelio Nuño ejecuta la reforma educativa gastando mucha saliva con una estrategia astuta, grandísimo hijo de siete. ¿Qué es falta su solución? Si con una evaluación todo será diferente, evalúen al presidente y al Congreso de la Unión.
Ándale.
Aurelio Nuño en su cara aparece en todos lados. Aurelio Nuño y su cara aparece en todos lados. Las metas están logradas y los maestros evaluados y con cifras alteradas entrega sus resultados.
Ándele.
Fíjate, de 60,000 en Oaxaca nomás cuántos van, 2,000 qué.
Bueno, pues es que, ¿qué querías? ¿Rapidez o eficiencia, mano?
No, por las dos y si es posible, ¿no? Y síguelo matando. La reforma es punitiva en toditos los estados. La reforma es punitiva en toditos los estados. Y en Oaxaca se veía cómo estaban desplegados un chingo de policías y unos cuantos evaluados. Que a 10,000 policías por 3,000 evaluados, ¿eh?
Bueno,
Harto
pues hay que
billete.
asegurarse.
Al cabo le sobra el billete al gobierno para hacer esas tarugadas. Hoy en
Lo que le
México
falta
puede
son
verse en pro de la educación. Hoy México puede verse en pro de la educación. Y la SEP se compromete a que si hay evaluación, su argumento es el tolete, el miedo y la represión.
Ándele, papá.
No me van a pegar por hocicón.
No, calma, tú no eres maestro.
Hoy carece de criterio, el gobierno es un tunante. Hoy carece de criterio, el gobierno es un tunante. Lo que pasa es algo serio, me parece repugnante. Hoy se ataca al magisterio más que al narcotraficante.
Eso es, pariente.
Ahí la lleva a hablar derecho, mirando al piso. Ya me voy. Ahí nomás.
Wow, this is a very strong song. because it may have bad words, because it represents the anger of the Mexicans against their government, because they want to stop the corruption that is in Mexico, so we need to understand them.
So Michelle, talking about what is education, do you know what is it?
What I understand about education, and in my point of view, education for me means the knowledge of life and all the elements that life contains a person has. But everyone has their own point of view, so explaining what does education means for you.
Well, that is a good definition. But for me, education is the act or process of imparting general knowledge, developing the powers of reasoning and judgment, and generally of preparing oneself or others intellectually for mature life. So, Michelle, if we talk about educative reform, what do you understand about that?
Well, I really don't know what those educative reforms means exactly, so please explain me.
Well, first you have to also know what is a reform. Do you know it?
If you can explain me, for me it's better.
Talking about a reform is the improvement of what is wrong, corrupt, and unsatisfactory. So, if we talk about educative reform, what are we talking about?
Well, continue explaining, please.
If we talk about educative reform, we're talking about the process of changing the way of teaching and how are the levels of education that each teacher has, and also changing the way of how students learn and how much they learn.
Oh, so I already understood. So the educative reforms are the change in the laws of education, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So does this have broad consequences in Mexico?
Yes, this problem started in 2012 when Peña Nieto proposed the educative reforms, and 10 days later these reforms were accepted. This reform consisted that they have to apply an exam to teachers to know if they are ready for their works. When it was approved, not every teacher agreed with this reform because it isn't an exam of what they teach. It's about set rules. And if they don't approve, they will be fired out of their jobs. This disagreement of teachers made that some states started being in strike and making kids lose school years or months.
Whoa, 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 what you're telling me is very awful. I had heard some strikes and fights in Oaxaca and the south states. Also, I know that the supporters of the reform say they need to end teachers' corruption unions, like when a teacher has a contact with the president, he asks him for work, and even though he doesn't know anything, he's hired only because he has some relation with the president. Also, they need to mark the educational standards because education in Mexico is going low. Students should care about education because it's the future of a country. Education gives jobs. So if there's no education, it won't be jobs. Unemployment causes poorness, and poorness causes violence. So students must care about the situation in Mexico because their future depends on Mexico. So I think that Mexicans should reflect about their actual situations to take awareness to prevent future bigger problems.
Stay with us, we are having a short song, but you better stay because we will tell you more information about what is happening in your country, and this will help you don't do the same history again.
Viejo conocido, asesino narcoestado, heteropatriarcado impositivo, machista, fascista, neoliberal, feminicida,
billetes mientras el sudor es nuestro. Sistema educativo descompuesto, mentiras recurrentes para los libros de texto. Sacan de contexto la lucha magisterial. Diálogo al carajo, me prefieren disparar, no les importa el futuro de los niños. Solo quieren más esclavos, llenarse los bolsillos, grillos, falsos benefactores, educación precaria y los pobres son más pobres. Dicen que la reforma no tiene negociación, bien tampoco mi derecho por saber y resistir su represión. Cambiar desde raíz la ingenuidad de mi país, no necesito evaluación, más bien autonomía. Y es que yo ya sabía que la educación no es gratis, se paga con la vida y las balas de mi lápiz.
Te conozco, compañero, maestro de selva y sierra, eres hijo de la tierra, campesino y comunero. Traes conocido el sendero que anduvo Lucio Cabañas y sabes que hoy la montaña manda levantar el grito en contra de los malditos que vienen por sus entrañas. Si esta sarta de bandidos impone su condición, el alma de esta nación va a ser un campo encendido. Ya los pueblos se han reunido, maestro, con tu bandera, que sepa la patria entera, los necios del poder, que hoy las cosas van a ser como la gente decida. Será la nación reunida quien les va a decir qué hacer. Será la nación reunida quien les va a decir qué hacer.
As you listen to the lyrics, you will understand that this song represents the feelings of the teachers. So the singers are representing the teachers and the feelings that the teachers feel about the educative reforms because they are against the educative reforms. Mariana, as I told you at the beginning of the program, we are going to talk about the relationship of the educative reforms in the past and nowadays and the consequences that the educative reforms brings to us nowadays.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. Even though we don't notice the importance of the educative reforms, at my point of view, they are very important and they were created for a purpose.
Of course, Mariana, everything has its function. In the 17th, the educative reforms were created with a purpose. This purpose was to improve the education and the form of teaching in Mexico's education.
Oh, I remember. It was the time of the globalization, right?
Yes, of course, with the globalization, everything changed. The way of thinking, there were new technologies, and more sources of information, for example, the internet. Of course, the internet wasn't like nowadays, but it was an advantage. As there was new technology, the education of Mexico needed a change. So if there was more technology, the education needed to improve their technology.
Margarita Zorrilla and Bonifacio Barba wrote a document where they explain the history of the educative reform. They explain that the widest process of transfer of the basic and normal education to the states started at the government of Carlos Salinas de Gortari.
And this process was carried out in the frame of the reform of the state and the public administration.
On education, the National Agreement for the Modernization of the Basic Education was the starting and structuring instrument of the decentralization.
You can read the whole article that is called Reforma Educativa en México, Descentralización y Nuevos Actores.
In fact, this explains the educative reforms were created since the government of Carlos Salinas de Gortari, with the purpose of having better teachers and education in the country.
These educative reforms also have the purpose that teachers are not only teachers because they have contact with the president or someone with high charge in the government. They are teachers because they want the students to learn and they have the capacity to teach them.
So, Michelle, in my point of view, I think that the educative reforms were unnecessary.
Why?
Because I think that applying this exam to the teachers will make teachers fire out of their jobs, and Mexico wouldn't have teachers because people that really want to teach prefer teaching like in Tec de Monterrey or private schools.
I am in favor of these educative reforms because Mexico needs teachers that are compromised with their students, and they need to have all the requirements applied by the SEP. So these reforms are super necessary for the future of Mexico.
But this exam that SEP is applying is not about what they are teaching. Maybe this will be necessary if this exam was about what they teach, because maybe they are very they have a lot of knowledge in their subject, but they don't know about SEP rules. What happened with that people that really want to teach students, but they are not teachers because SEP doesn't apply?
Okay, I will put you an example. If you go to a job, they put you rules, right? So you need to know that rules. Because if you don't follow the rules, you are fired. So it's necessary that everyone knows the rules of their job. Everything has rules, so everyone needs to know the rules.
But what happens if you're an expert in a subject and because SEP has rules and you don't know them, you cannot teach? Some students are losing the privilege to know that things.
I think that is my responsibility to know the rules, because maybe I am an expert in whatever topic, but if I abuse of my student, do that student deserve me? Or they deserve a better teacher. They deserve a teacher that respect them, that are involved with them.
Well, that's true, but I think that some teachers that know the rules will still be breaking them and abusing of people, because in the country, even though we have the laws, we break them. We are corrupt.
You're right. You are totally right. So that's my point of view. I think that reforms, the educative reforms, I'm in favor of them because they are necessary for the teachers in Mexico. That's my point of view.
Well, in my point of view, they are necessary. But let's see the point of view of another person. We will have our special guest, Mr. Bernal from Tec de Monterrey.
Buenas tardes, estoy aquí con la maestra Teresa Bernal, de Historia de Tec de Monterrey, y les voy a hacer unas preguntas sobre la reforma educativa. ¿Conoce las reformas educativas?
Sí, las conozco.
¿Qué opina de ellas?
Bueno, desde la perspectiva de reforma me iría más al contexto, que es una reforma, es un cambio en la educación, en el sistema educativo mexicano. Pues desde desde la década de los 80, con el desarrollo de la tecnología y la entrada al internet, entramos a un mundo de la globalidad. Obviamente el sistema educativo tenía que transformarse y estar a la vanguardia. ¿Para qué? Para formar personas competitivas, que es la misión del tecnológico que ustedes ya conocen, ¿verdad? A nivel internacional. Yo creo que este es un propósito de todos. Nosotros desde la década de los 90 y a raíz de la firma del Tratado de Libre Comercio, ahí nació la necesidad de hacer un cambio, una reforma educativa de fondo en este país. No podíamos seguir con un sistema plano, rígido, tradicionalista, exaltado en sentido nacionalista, porque el nacionalismo se opone de lleno a la globalidad. Ustedes ya no son esa parte de esa generación. Entonces, si yo no cambio un esquema de educación en todas las áreas, pues yo no estoy formando personas que den respuesta a las necesidades de la globalidad. Entonces desde ahí, pues estoy a favor del cambio. Y de hecho aquí en el tecnológico esa es nuestra tónica desde hace mucho tiempo. Estamos nosotros ya en la ola del cambio. El cambio se volvió una constante en la vida cotidiana de todo el planeta, ¿sí? Se están viendo y lo estamos viendo los resultados con la innovación, con nuevos productos, con nuevos procesos, con inventos, con cosas, incluso hasta carreras en un futuro que hoy en día ni siquiera conocemos, pero que van a dar y se van a tener que crear para dar respuesta a lo que necesita el mundo para vivir y para seguir evolucionando. Entonces en esa perspectiva estoy totalmente de acuerdo y aquí lo practicamos porque es nuestro diario vivir.
Si quitaran estas reformas, ¿cuál cree que serían las consecuencias?
El atraso, la pobreza, la involución. En lugar de ir hacia adelante, iríamos para atrás, años luz. Y en el subdesarrollo, los países más pobres del mundo, que la gente prácticamente vive de la caridad mundial. Países africanos, etcétera, y algunos países en América Latina, nosotros no estamos lejos de eso, donde ya tenemos un alto índice de nuestra población de mexicanos muriendo todos los días por hambre. Eso no es ni ético ni moral, ¿sí?
¿Cuánto cree que afectan los conflictos que se han generado por las reformas educativas por parte de los maestros?
Pues mucho, porque el problema de la reforma es un problema de carácter político, donde distintas fuerzas o grupos quieren permanecer con sus privilegios y sus cotos de poder y no están visualizando lo que este país necesita para progresar, ni para vivir en armonía y en paz, en un respeto mutuo, en una inclusión. Seguimos hablando de indígenas, no de mexicanos. Seguimos hablando de clases o de castas, ¿por qué no decirlo así? En una sociedad de corporaciones donde tenemos la clase empresarial, la clase política, la clase obrera, la clase campesina, la clase media, la clase baja, etc. Entonces, ante eso, pues cada quien tiene una visión diferente y no se ve un fin o un beneficio común donde todos estemos integrados y demos un paso adelante hacia una evolución. Entonces cada quien se está peleando por lo que considera que pierde de privilegio, ¿sí?
Como maestra, ¿qué haría para solucionar el problema?
Bueno, yo no tengo la fuerza ni el poder para transformar algo tan de fondo, pero sí puedo hacer en lo propio. ¿Cuál es mi compromiso en esto? No soy un agente de cambio directo en cuanto a la transformación de la evolución, pero sí lo hago en la medida en la que esta institución a la cual pertenezco, que es el Tecnológico de Monterrey, me ha permitido, que es cambiar, mejorar dentro de los planes y programas que están establecidos en la educación básica. Mi compromiso y obligación es de mejorarlo, de ampliarlo, de realmente desarrollar estrategias de aprendizaje en el que ustedes desarrollen competencias o capacidades que les permita resolver problemas, de adaptarse de lleno al mundo laboral, en sus familias, en resolución a mejores tomas de decisiones, etcétera, ¿sí? A un futuro. ¿Qué hago? Pues reviso cada año, veo cómo funcionan esto, cómo salen evaluados ustedes, qué realmente traen, si traen ese nivel de capacidad crítica, de propuestas, de ideas innovadoras que permitan transformar o que a ustedes les viene, incluso hasta que estudiaron una carrera profesional con un fin ya de cambio, ¿no? De transformar. Ese es mi compromiso. En esa medida yo siento que estoy poniendo mi granito de arena. Espero que así sea.
Sí, claro. Bueno, muchas gracias. Fue un honor.
Al contrario, me dio mucho gusto saludarla, chica.
Well, that was the unique Mr. Bernal. Thank you, Mr. Bernal, for the interview. I hope all the listeners understood the topic of today because you explained it very well. I'm glad to have you this program. Next, we're going to reproduce a song that has to do with the educative reform.
las reformas de Peña, cantamos este corrido, ya echaron toda la leña, el fuego estaba encendido, despertaron al monstruito, Veracruz ya está prendido. Primero cayó Gordillo, la lideresa del CENTE, la mandaron a la sombra, le dio la espalda a su gente, aunque ella tiene en la bolsa billetitos de los verdes. Se moviliza la gente, Oaxaca y los de Guerrero, unidos con la consigna de defender los derechos. Despierten ya, compañeros, vamos a jalar parejos. Hijo de tigre pintito, con este sí ganaremos, no pasa nada, maestros, de rojo nos vestiremos, así nos dijo Callejas cuando a todos nos reunieron. A todos nuestros niveles, luchemos juntos ahora, la unión nos dará más fuerza, junto a la coordinadora, el CENTE vendió a maestros con la dichosa reforma. La ESGA está presente, no bajaremos la guardia, los dirigentes del CENTE vengan a darnos la cara, no sean cobardes, señores, ahora sí nadie nos para.
Is it too late now to say sorry? We hope you enjoy it and learn. We also hope that you learn how to take awareness to prevent future bigger problems. Next week, we are having also an interesting topic, so don't stop hearing us. We are your best station and your best option, as always. Thank you for your attention through all the program. You know we love you and care about you, ladies and gentlemen. We accept comments and suggestions, but good comment. I'm kidding, whatever comment. Of our program, so we take this station the most joyful program for you. Hope you're doing fine the rest of the week, and remember, ERM Radio is your best option. ERM Radio. Oh my god, that was online? Erase that! I was just kidding. There goes the good one. ERM Radio.